All right, guys, what is going on? Rewind number 17 is here, and for this edition, we're going to be doing WrestleMania 21. So it's just Cam here for this one. Sorry for the delays, of course. We had a whole month lined up in the previous month of March. We had a whole lineup of a lot of different shows we were looking to cover. We had some cool ideas and plans and whatnot, but we decided to take a little break for a month, come back now and do this big Mania week. Since WrestleMania, of course, is on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be doing some rewinds for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, we'll have the WrestleMania 36 reviews for both Saturday night and Sunday night. So, of course, apologize for the delay, and this was one of the shows we were looking to do. And sorry it's taken so long for it to get out there and be done, and sorry we had to move on from some of the other plans we originally had, but yeah, we just, I don't know, the way we were doing things before and whatnot was just not really the greatest way of accomplishing our goals and whatnot, so we just had to take a break. We were just, I don't know how else to say it really, but without further ado, let's get into it. WrestleMania 21 goes Hollywood. Before I get into the swing of things here, I just want to start out by saying that this is one of my all-time favorite WrestleManias. I consider this to be a top 3 Mania. And I've watched the show so many times, I couldn't even tell you how many times I have. Because as a kid, I used to own the DVD, and I just watched this over and over and over again. I probably watched this for days, at a time. So this one will always be very special to me, and to watch it about 15 years after the fact and just go back and watch it now, there's still some great memories from this show, and brings back a lot of fun times. So get into the preliminaries if we should. WrestleMania 21 goes Hollywood. As I pointed out, about 15 years ago to the date, April 3rd will mark officially 15 years, so that would be tomorrow when you guys hear this. So, the main program on Raw featured the World Heavyweight Champion at the time, Triple H, and Batista. Back in New Year's Revolution, my favorite pay-per-view. Not being serious here. If you've listened to previous shows, whether that be No Way Out or whatever, where there's a year where there's a New Year's Revolution pay-per-view, you know how I feel about New Year's Revolution. So, Triple H would capture the vacant World Heavyweight title in the Elimination Chamber match. Then following that, a few weeks later at the Royal Rumble event, Triple H would then successfully retain the world title against Randy Orton. On the same night, Batista would go on to win the Royal Rumble match, earning him a title opportunity of his choosing at WrestleMania 21. Of course, Triple H and Batista, both 2 of 4 original Evolution members. Randy Orton famously would be unceremoniously exiled from the group, leaving it down to just Batista, Ric Flair, and Triple H. For months, they would tease Batista's turn on Evolution, and more so Triple H. A couple examples come to mind in particular at New Year's Revolution going into the Elimination Chamber match. Batista's loyalty to Triple H was in question. At one point in the night, Randy Orton would talk to Batista prior to the Chamber match and told him that Triple H doesn't give a damn about him, and the only thing he cares about is the World Heavyweight Championship. But Batista, despite everything, would still stand by Triple H's side. Then on the February 7th edition of Monday Night Raw, Triple H would defend the World Heavyweight title against Edge, and Batista would interfere in the matchup, helping Triple H to retain the gold. Following that, Batista would raise Triple H's hand of victory, but as he was doing so, Batista would stare at Triple H's World Heavyweight title. Knowing in his mind he had the option of facing him for the title at Mania. Triple H would desperately try to get Batista to head over to SmackDown and face JBL for the WWE Championship instead, even as going as far as to orchestrate a setup and a near rundown with a limousine on Batista. The limousine had JBL's trademark horns on the front, and he was trying to get him to believe that it was JBL who was behind that, but it was later revealed that Triple H was all behind it. Trying to trick was explaining this plot to Ric Flair. Batista was eavesdropping and listening to the conversation, finding out what has really been going on. And then there was the moment where both Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff and SmackDown General Manager Theodore Long were in the ring toward the end of Raw, both offering Batista offers to either one for Batista to remain on Raw and challenge Triple H for the world title, or head over to SmackDown and challenge JBL for the WWE Championship. Batista would take the microphone and tell Triple H that he knew he was going to do for a long time. Another little tease here, because at first Batista would grab the SmackDown contract, giving him which would give him his title match against JBL, and then he also gave a thumbs up to both Triple H and Ric Flair. But then, right as he was doing so, he turned that thumbs up right upside down. To the shock of both Triple H and Flair, he then attacked both men, throwing Flair to the outside, and would deliver a power bomb to Triple H, sending a message. And he would deliver a power bomb, not just any power bomb, but one through the table that was placed in the ring. So then Batista would say that he's coming for Triple H in the World Heavyweight title at Mania. Then on the SmackDown side, the main program was between WWE Champion JBL, who was at the time the longest reigning world champion in SmackDown history, a record which would indeed stand for many, many years. And then his challenger, of course, would be John Cena. At the No Way Out 2005 pay-per-view, Cena would earn his title opportunity by defeating Kurt Angle in a number one contenders match to go on to Mania to face the champ. As for JBL on the same night, he'd once again, like he had many other times, retained the WWE title. This time, he beat Big Show in the first ever barbed wire steel cage match. Right after this show, Cena would immediately enter a feud with JBL in his cabinet, featuring Orlando Jordan, Doug, and Danny Basham. Then on the March 3rd, 2005 edition of SmackDown, after outside interference from the Bashams and JBL, we'd see Orlando Jordan pin Cena for the United States Championship. Yeah, because keep in mind, John Cena was also the U.S. champion during this time as well. So Orlando Jordan would actually pin him due to the interference from JBL and the Bashams. Then JBL would dump Cena's U.S. title, his spinner U.S. title belt, the next week on SmackDown, and would put it in a garbage can and would press a little button which would blow it up. Then he'd replace that version with the previous version of the belt. This would piss Cena off big time, as he'd come out later that night with a lead pipe demanding JBL come down to the ring and fight him. Then SmackDown GM Teddy Long would instead make his way to the ring to inform Cena that he had to wait until WrestleMania to get his hands on JBL. Cena would respond by telling Teddy Long that he could either be a part of the solution or be part of the problem. And since he's not going to bring JBL out there, he's part of the problem. Then Cena would pick up Teddy Long and would drop him with the FU. The next week, it was also announced by Theodore Long that if Cena did as much as lay his hands on JBL, he would forfeit his right to challenge JBL for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Then later that night, JBL would team with the Basham brothers to take on the team of the WWE Tag Team Champions, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and the number one contender himself, John Cena, who, for a little bit of a fun fact on that very night, made his first ever entrance with The Time Is Now as his theme music. Later down the road, Teddy Long would clarify that if JBL physically provoked Cena, Cena could retaliate. Cena would then look to push all of JBL's buttons by vandalizing his limousine. He'd take his cowboy hat, dump water in it, and then put the hat on JBL. It would spray paint FU on JBL's shirt. Then on the go-home SmackDown before Mania, John Cena would face Carlito in a singles match. And as this was going on, JBL would come out and have Cena placed under arrest for vandalizing his limo. While Cena was handcuffed, JBL would low blow him. All of that would lead us to this WWE Championship matchup, leading to the start of something very special. But those are the two main feuds heading in, but of course there's other build-up to this as well to discuss, including the rivalry between Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. This all began back at the 2005 Royal Rumble match when Kurt Angle would be eliminated from Shawn Michaels. He'd be eliminated from the match by Shawn Angle would enter at 20 and would dominate briefly, but Shawn would hit him with sweet chin music, sending him over the top to the outside, eliminating Angle. Kurt would only end up being in the Rumble for 37 seconds. And then, not taking kind to this, Angle would get back in the ring and eliminate Shawn, and then proceed to beat the hell out of him. Following No Way Out, the next night on Raw, Shawn Michaels would tell SmackDown GM Teddy Long that he's challenging Kurt to a match at WrestleMania. Then next on Raw, Shawn would defeat Edge in a street fight, and then following that, Angle would attack him from behind and would accept the challenge. Then the next SmackDown, Shawn would look to even the odds by attacking Kurt Angle, as both men would have to be separated by security. After this, in the coming weeks, Kurt would say he's better than Shawn Michaels, and to prove that, he would do everything that Shawn had accomplished, starting with him winning a ladder match, poking fun at Shawn Michaels' famous ladder match with Razor Ramon back at WrestleMania 10, a show which we did originally plan on covering, and hopefully we will get to one day, but that was part of the previous month's lineup that I guess it would end up getting postponed. Then he'd face Shawn's former tag team partner Marty Jannetty in a match, which of course he won. Then he'd have Kurt bring back Shawn's former manager, Sensational Sherri, and we'd have the Sexy Kurt segment, and the rest is history. Now getting into the show itself. Of course, this is a World Wrestling Entertainment event. This was done April 3rd, 2005. Raw and SmackDowns would be the respective brands a part of this one. Then this was from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. 20,193 would be the attendance figure. And it would have a 980,000 buy rate for this event, which is up 95,000 from the previous year's buy rate of 885,000 for WrestleMania 20. This Mania would also be the fastest sellout event in WWE history, selling out all tickets in less than a minute when they went on sale on September 25th of 2004. It would also become a Staples Center record for the fastest ticket sellout ever. So before the show would begin, we'd have a dark match, which would be an interpromotional battle royal featuring people from both Raw and SmackDown, which would be won by Booker T. We then begin the show with a rendition of America the Beautiful by Lillian Garcia. Then we would have the opening video package for the event, first featuring the WrestleMania Goes Hollywood vignettes parodying scenes from several different movies. Always like that. Then there was the famous one with Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Gladiator scene where he famously says, "My name is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tonight, I unleash hell." Great stuff. Legendary. Then we'd have the we'd have the pyro, and the announcers introducing everyone to Mania. You'd have the opening with JR and Jim Ross, Jim Ross, and Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole and Taz, Spanish announce team, whatnot. Then we kick things off with the opening contest, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. Keep in mind that both Eddie and Rey were both one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, making this a first-time ever deal where the Tag Team Champions would square off and face one another at WrestleMania. This match was set up as Eddie wanted to prove that he could beat Rey. Definitely one of the more underrated WrestleMania openers and maybe even WrestleMania matches, in my opinion. This also would mark Eddie Guerrero's final WrestleMania match, as he'd sadly passed away in November of 2005, later in the year. Getting into it, both guys are really over with the live audience. Mysterio would start out by trying to use his quickness to his advantage, but Eddie would catch him with an arm drag. And then Eddie would slingshot Mysterio to the outside. And then Eddie would try to do a suplex, but Rey would land and come back with a monkey flip. There was a corkscrew plancha spot where Rey would fly over the top down onto Eddie. Then Eddie would get back in control. He'd go for the Three Amigos, but Rey would avoid the third suplex and get a roll-up for a 2 count. Rey would go for the 619, but Eddie would have it well scouted. He then followed up with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and a vicious one at that. Eddie would then hit the Three Amigos and would look to hit the Frog Splash, but he'd miss Mysterio with rolling out of the way. Then Mysterio would try to roll up Eddie, but Eddie would use his the strength advantage to get a pin attempt of his own.